Managing conflict in relationships isn't really about solving every single problem. It's more about managing those unsolvable issues, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've got those perpetual problems that couples face, like personality differences or long-standing habits that just don't change.
Yeah, and research, like from the Gottman Institute, shows that about 69% of problems in relationships just aren't meant to be solved. They're unsolvable by nature.
Hmm. So instead of trying to fix something that's, inherently unfixable, the focus shifts to managing conflict around those issues.
Right. And they've actually developed 3 conflict blueprints to help couples do exactly that. First, there's the blueprint for current conflicts.
Right. Can you break down what happens in that blueprint?
Absolutely. Blueprint number 1 emphasizes that both partners should pause any persuasion tactics and instead clearly state their positions while being emotionally calm. You know, take turns talking, let each side be
Yep.
heard.
What kind of strategies do they suggest for keeping things calm?
Well, they advise taking a break, like a 15 to 20-minute timeout if things get too heated. Then one person speaks while the other listens actively, with no interruptions at all. I mean, it's like, both sides need to be on the same page and really, really listening.
Hmm. And note-taking, right? That seems to be part of it too.
Exactly. Having the listener jot down what the speaker says helps in really understanding each other's perspective without distorting the message.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. What about the second blueprint regarding attachment injuries?
Oh, blueprint number 2 is, all about addressing past emotional injuries, those triggers that create resentment over time. It's really about validating each other's feelings without negativity.
Right. So this is like when past betrayals or breaches of trust are brought up while trying to manage current conflicts.
Exactly. It focuses on discussing those triggers calmly, using steps like acknowledging what you feel, exploring underlying triggers, taking responsibility, apologizing, and planning
Hmm.
for healing.
But isn't it tricky? I mean, how do you balance the need to apologize without feeling like you're losing on your side?
That's a good point. And honestly, it's one of the more challenging aspects. The key is an apology based solely on the fact that your partner was hurt. It's not about agreeing with everything or, admitting fault for things that may be subjective. Rather, it's just saying, I recognize you were hurt and I'm here to support you.
Right. I see. So it's about, validating without necessarily agreeing completely with the rationale behind the trigger.
Exactly. And there's a real emphasis on, creating a safe emotional space while talking about these very sensitive issues.
Yeah. Now what about Blueprint 3? That one about gridlock and dialogue, right?
Yes. Blueprint number 3 deals with moving from being gridlocked, where issues just, freeze over, to entering a dialogue. This blueprint is centered on core, repeating differences, like those linked to fundamental personality
Mm-hmm.
needs.
So it's more than just a screaming match about minor disputes. It involves discussing underlying values and dreams, right?
Absolutely. It's about exploring what these conflicts really mean to both partners. Each side is asked to speak about their deep-seated dreams or core needs that are at stake. It's like, if one partner values independence while the other craves closeness, knowing these underlying elements can help find some common ground.
Yeah, exactly. And that common ground then lets the couple, agree to disagree on the specific issue while still validating each other's needs.
Right on. It's the movement from, gridlock to dialogue, where both parties can honor the significance of each other's perspectives without trying to completely change the other person.
That sounds like a healthy way to handle those perpetual problems that every couple faces, huh?
Yes, exactly. And it's practical too. Couples are encouraged to take turns speaking and actively listening without judgment or quick fixes. It's about creating a safe space, like, a verbal hug for the relationship.
I like that analogy, a verbal hug. It's a nice way to think of it.
Thanks. You know, another interesting aspect is the emphasis on body language.
Yes, because it's not just about words, but, Also about nonverbal cues like eye contact, nodding, or even a reassuring touch.
Precisely. These gestures signal that both partners are engaged and invested in the conversation, even when they're discussing something painful or triggering.
Yeah. Now, while all these blueprints sound really comprehensive, isn't there a risk that focusing too much on process might trap couples in an overly clinical conversation?
That's a fair point. I mean, sometimes, if you turn every argument into a rigid process, it can feel a bit, well, mechanistic. But the idea is to use these blueprints as flexible frameworks rather
Right,
than strict
exactly.
rules.
So it's more about having these tools in your toolkit than adhering to a script, correct?
Yes, exactly. It's about, creating an environment where both partners can feel heard and understood, even when issues remain unsolved.
And research really backs this up, showing that couples who master these approaches have stronger, longer-lasting relationships, right?
Absolutely. It's all grounded in solid scientific research. The insecurity and avoidance you see in many relationships can be reduced when partners learn that conflict management, not resolution, is the key.
Yeah. It's fascinating to think that a lot of our everyday arguments, if handled correctly, could actually become opportunities for growth and deeper understanding.
Totally. It's like turning obstacles into, stepping stones for building a better connection. And while there's no magic formula to erase all conflict, using these blueprints makes each disagreement a chance to, create intimacy and trust.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. And it really highlights that managing conflict in relationships is less about winning an argument and more about maintaining a loving partnership over time.
Yep, and by embracing these blueprints, couples learn that some problems are unsolvable, and that's okay. The real win is in how you communicate and adapt together.
Right, absolutely. This approach really makes you appreciate that conflict management is an ongoing process, a journey, rather than a destination.
Exactly. And it ultimately empowers couples to see conflict as an opportunity to connect rather than, drift apart.
Totally. Thanks for such an insightful breakdown of these blueprints. It's a lot to process, but it definitely gives couples practical steps to navigate some really tough issues.
Absolutely. And hopefully, with these ideas, more couples can transform conflict into a chance for growth, understanding, and lasting love.
Yeah, exactly. That wraps up our deep dive on managing conflict. It's clear there's a lot of value in embracing the process rather than chasing impossible solutions.
Right. It's all about conversation, empathy, and the willingness to evolve together. Thanks for the amazing chat, and here's to building stronger, conflict-managed
Indeed,
relationships.
cheers to that.